Thank you, Mike. Seeing that it's 3 o'clock, I'd like to call this Committee on Public Services to order, and if you can do the roll call.
Yes, I will start with Chair Brown.
Stan Brown, voting remotely from Washington Township, Macomb County.
And Committee Chair Farrington.
Commissioner Jeff Farrington, voting remotely from Utica, Macomb County, Michigan.
And Commissioner Kleinfeld.
Commissioner Kleinfeld, voting from East Point, Macomb County, Michigan.
Commissioner Romano.
Commissioner Romano, District 4, Sterling Heights, present and participating remotely in Macomb County, Michigan.
Commissioner Kraft.
Commissioner Phil Kraft, attending remotely from Chesterfield Township, Macomb County, Michigan.
Commissioner Hall.
Commissioner Haw, attending remotely, Roseville, Macomb County, Michigan.
Commissioner Wallace.
Commissioner Wallace, attending remotely, Mount Clemens, Macomb County, Michigan.
Commissioner Song.
Commissioner Song, attending remotely from Warren, Macomb County, Michigan.
Commissioner Van Sickle.
Commissioner Van Sickle, attending remotely, Sterling Heights, Macomb County, Michigan.
Commissioner Zinner.
Commissioner Zinner, remotely attending Harrison Township, Macomb County, Michigan.
Commissioner Matuzik.
Commissioner Matuzik, attending remotely from Clinton Township, Macomb County, Michigan.
Commissioner Sabatini.
Commissioner Sabatini, attending remotely from Macomb Township, Macomb County, Michigan.
Commissioner Nard. And that completes the roll.
Thank you very much. At this time, the next item is Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, at this point, I'd like to have a motion to adopt the agenda.
Romano adopts the agenda.
Second, Van Sickle.
Thank you, Commissioners Romano and Van Sickle. This time, a vote.
That motion passes 12-0.
Thank you very much, Commissioners. The next item on our agenda is approval of the minutes dated February 17th, 2021. I'd like to offer.
Commissioner Haw.
Do I hear a second?
Sabatini seconds it.
Motion made by Haw, second by Sabatini. Commissioners, please vote.
That motion passes 12-0.
Thank you very much, Commissioners. At this point, we have the first of two public participation portions. The first opportunity for public participation is for those who wish to speak for a maximum of 5 minutes on an item which is on today's agenda. The second opportunity for public participation is for those who wish to speak on issues other than what's on today's agenda. For those planning to speak during public participation, please be advised, according to Rule 21 of the adopted board rules, personal attacks, coarse and derogatory language, and cursing will not be tolerated. Individuals using such language will be removed from the meeting. Also, those who call in by phone for public participation will be asked to speak first. In an orderly fashion, those who join virtually will be asked to type their name into the Google chat box. Those names will then be called in the order in which they are received. Staff, do we have anyone on the phone lines?
Chair, no one has indicated that they wish to speak.
I don't see anyone in the chat box. I'll give it one more moment. Those wishing to speak by phone or the chat box. Seeing no one or hearing no one, public participation of the first phase is closed. At this point, I'd like to have a presentation from the Department of Roads. Brian Santo, you have your 30 seconds as you told me you were going to take. I'm just kidding. So Brian
Chair,
Santo.
motion to move to full board.
Thank you very much. A motion received and filed.
Do we need to receive and file?
Van Sickle makes the motion and a second from.
Commissioner Zong, second.
Thank you, Vice Chair Song. Brian, please begin.
Yes, hi, and good afternoon. And thank you, Chair Farrington, Vice Chair Song, and respective commissioners. Good afternoon. My name is Brian Santo, Director of the Department of Roads for Macomb County, and I have assisting me with this presentation, and we'll be speaking also as John Abraham, our Director of Traffic Operations for the Road Department. So first and foremost, just a general overview. I got some slides here for you. John, if you could switch to the second slide. Just some of the basics, and this might be redundant for some of you, maybe not for others. Basically, as a generality, Michigan is the 10th largest total road system in the U.S. with 122,000 plus miles. Fourth largest local road system in the U.S. And Michigan roads move about 860 billion in goods per year. And when that comes and breaks down to Macomb County, we have a population of almost 874,000, third largest in Michigan. We have the sixth largest road system in Michigan at a county road miles of 1,773. And we have 27 cities, townships, and villages within Macomb County. Just as far as road funding, we get our majority of our road funding is through Michigan transportation funds, and they come from gas and weight taxes or registration fees. There is a breakdown of that. Funding for the roads is split between MDOT, which gets 39.1% of that pot. County road agencies get the other 39.1%, with the balance being 21.8% to cities and villages approximately. As far as a gas tax, we currently have a 26.3 cents per gallon for gas, 26.4 cents per gallon for diesel. That was increased recently back in 2017. And prior to that, 4 cents in 1997 and 4 cents in 1984. Just for clarification, and a lot of people don't understand this, property taxes that everybody pays within Macomb County do not go towards our MTF or our roads funding. It strictly comes from revenues from MTF, from the federal highway, as far as their revenues that they share in the tip, which I'll get to in a minute. So property taxes do not directly relate to the road department. As far as funding for roads, Michigan Transportation Funds, I'm sorry, next one, MTF revenues projected for through 2021. Obviously, with the 2016 bump, we have increased MTF funds that cap out, I believe, in 2022. But 2021, we're estimated to get just shy of 75 million as far as our MTF funds are concerned. Just a little bit about jurisdiction of our roadways. Obviously, we have various road designations within the county. We have the state roads, the I roads, the M roads, and the US roads, mostly all expressway or like Hall Road or M3 Gratiot. We have our county roads, which are primary roads, are classified as something like Metro Parkway or Mound. And then we have local roads, which some of the mile roads, 27 Mile Road, Car Road, and such. The townships, when it comes to the townships, all roads in any township are under county jurisdiction unless they're considered private or if they're state trunk line roads. Townships do not receive the Michigan transportation funds that we receive on their behalf to maintain the townships within those communities. When it comes to cities and villages, cities and villages jurisdiction over some of the mile roads, usually the odd ones, some of the north-south roads like Hoover and Ryan, and all of their local residential streets. Cities and villages or cities do receive MTF funds for their roads under their jurisdiction, unlike the townships that do not. As far as federal funding, we get some of our funding through federal aid. That's through federal gas tax, regular gas and diesel. Out of that funding through the federal government, 75% of that gets distributed to the state, and 25% is split between road agencies, cities, and villages. Federal funds can contribute on most projects, road or bridge, up to 80% of the construction costs on eligible projects, and the remaining 20% is traditionally split between us and the entity or community that particular project falls under. We do have match money that we do require for that additional 20%. As far as the TIP and the FAC, that federal monies that we get goes into a transportation improvement program. That is basically a 4-year program. We're programmed with projects up through 2023, and that is determined as far as projects and allocation of money through a federal aid committee. We oversee that federal aid committee as a department, and there will be a call for projects probably late end of this year or first of next year. And that will involve the years of 2023 because there's an overlap year through 2020, 23, 24, 26. So we will select projects with input from the communities. The projects that will be submitted are scored, and then we come up ultimately with the available dollars, which there's always more ask than we have available for dollars. So we'll score those projects and we'll select projects, trying to spread those throughout the community as much as possible. We do have a review committee that does score those. It involves, McDoor staff as well as community staff and representatives of the communities also. The next slide will show you the current construction projects that we have upcoming for the 2021 season. We do have a healthy and robust construction season. I've had that for quite a few years now. I guess the point being with this is only a kind of a snapshot of the roads that we actually need to do within the county. There's been decades and decades of deficiencies in road funding and bridge funding, our infrastructure, that has obviously put us behind the 8 ball and put us way behind as far as where we should be and where we want to be. Like the executive says, if the funding is fixed, we'll be able to fix the roads appropriately and expeditiously. But as you can see, there's a lot of roads, a lot of bridges, and a lot of projects here that we are very proud of to move forward with and have done projects of this nature in the past. So those are spread out throughout the communities and looking forward to getting underway. We've got a couple underway currently with more to come as the weather breaks here for the summer. One of the main projects, nationwide project that should be nationally recognized, is our Innovate Mound project. It's a federal highway infra grant award winner, and it's the largest local agency award of this infra grant that there is out there. Usually it's to state agencies. This has been culminated since starting back in 2016. We were awarded just shy of 98 million towards the project. It's not the full 60% that we were hoping for, but it's a good chunk to get us to where we need to be. And that is in conjunction with, the cities of Warren and cities of Sterling Heights. So this is a project that's 9 miles long. It's on Mound Road between I-696 and M59. It's was estimated originally at 217 million. And like I said, with infra grant monies in totaling about 98 million, just shy of it. Bulk of construction will be 21 through 23, with final completion and wrap up in 2024 as the infra grant requires. The project includes new concrete pavement, drainage, curbs and driveways, signal optimizations, roadway widening from 17 Mile to Hall Road. So it's a full 4-lane cross section, northbound and southbound. There will be connected vehicle and fiber optic technology. So new ITS technology invested in the new corridor, enhanced non-motorized facilities, energy efficient lighting, and much more. So these improvements will allow the corridor to be a safer, more durable, and more efficient traveled thoroughfare. And that's estimated as far as the corridor improvements for traffic volumes up through 2050 that are anticipated. And like I said, once complete, Mound Road will look and feel like a state-of-the-art corridor that it truly is. Just a bit on the maintenance end of it that we get into. Our road department maintains more than 1,770 miles of primary and local roads with more than 1,100 additional miles of subdivision roadways. And then we do have a state maintenance contract that we maintain an additional 210 miles of the state trunk lines that do pass through our county. On average, nearly 9,000 total service requests received annually for road maintenance are addressed. We do have 4 service centers spread out between Washington, New Haven, Clinton, and Shelby service centers. As far as our winter operations, we have 66 snow routes, 101 snow plows, salt trucks, and graders in our fleet. Our brine makers obviously are used during the winter to support our, plowing and salt or plowing of snow and salting. On average, we use about just shy of 50,000 tons of salt per winter. Just an idea of cost, in 2019, which is 1920 winter, we spent over $8.5 million on winter maintenance for primary, local, and state roads. We do have after hours or night watch patrols during the winter season, obviously to monitor and take care of obviously issues that happen on off-peak hours to make sure that we're on top of things that happen throughout the night as far as snowfalls, icing, any issues that come up during the off-peak hours. We do have a couple night patrols that do that stretch of roadway during those times. Obviously, one of the big things currently would be potholes and some of our gravel roads that we have throughout the county, mostly at the north end. Last year, just an example, maintenance crews used more than 1,400 tons of patching material at a cost of over $150,000 and more than 100 tons of crack fill material at a cost of about $83,000. And that usage is based, on the severity of the winter season. So the lighter winters, the cheaper the cost and less we have to get out there and do that. We've been pretty fortunate this winter and the past winters to have pretty much a light winter season, and hopefully that continues. Once again, we do run the after hours night watch to monitor and patrol roadways, emergency situations for potholes, snow and ice conditions. And as Commissioner Brown will appreciate, we have a limestone program that's been very successful with the northern communities. 7 of them that are involved as far as a 2 to 3 mile every year of a limestone application within each township annually. And that's been very successful on promoting, obviously, the gravel roads that we have still within our community in Macomb County. And just an example, as far as the townships, they do not receive the Act 51 money. We receive it on their behalf, and we maintain the townships as far as their roads are concerned. And just to give you an example, as of 2019 that we have most recently, a breakdown of Act 51 funds received, which is just over 17 million. And the actual maintenance expense per township of the 11 townships spending 18.9 million almost. So we traditionally spend more money in Act 51 funds on just the maintenance of these townships versus what we actually take in as the MTF funds for those communities are concerned. At this point, I will turn over the nuts and bolts. The Director of Operations, Traffic Operations, John Abraham, he's got more of a feel for this in the technical sense as far as our traffic and operations is concerned. So go ahead, John.
Good afternoon, all. This is John Abraham, and happy St. Patrick's Day to all of you. Just as a background, I was brought up in India, and I came here for my higher studies. I did my graduate studies here, and then went back on a holiday back to India. And I was talking to my uncles and aunts and my parents, and they said, "Hey, what do you do? Well, what did you study in America?" And I was like, "Oh, I got my advanced degree in traffic engineering." And most people thought this is what I do in America with my advanced degree. But I hope to give you a better feel and meaning to traffic engineering after my presentation today. Traffic engineering basically covers all of these different areas: traffic control devices, that includes traffic signals, signs, pavement markings, ITS devices. I'll go through some of these details in the following slides. We analyze traffic crashes on an annual basis, look at where the crashes are happening, why they are happening. We also have a pulse on the traffic volumes, and we maintain all traffic signals and traffic signs within the county. We also do a certain amount of residential area traffic control for some of the townships where we control the roads. We also do what's known as traffic impact studies for major developments. For example, Amazon comes into town. they want to put up a facility. So we asked them to do what's known as a traffic impact study, which would then go through and find out what the impacts of the new traffic is and what should be remedial actions that they should participate to mitigate their traffic, kind of. We also liaison with other transportation agencies like SEMCOG, federal and state funding agencies, and other stakeholders. In short, traffic engineering is the safe and efficient movement of people and goods in an environmentally conscious manner. So all of you are familiar with where we are, Macomb County. We are also a major employment center for the auto industry, for GM, Fiat Chrysler. For example, the General Motors Tech Center has around 21,000 employees. Of course, these are all facts from before COVID. We are also called the defense capital of Michigan with Tardec, TACOM, and Selfridge. We are also home to close to 900,000 people. So all of this tend to make our jobs as traffic engineers and in the county, makes it a challenge to manage all of this traffic. Just to give you an inkling of what traffic volumes we carry, our roads carry on a daily basis. There are sections of roadways that carry up to 110,000 vehicles in a day. So that's in one day. And different sections like Mound Road carries up to 80,000, M59 up to 110,000. One of the facts is that this 110,000 on M59 is more than what I-94 carries through the county. So definitely our roadways have a lot of traffic that go through on a daily basis. When it comes to traffic engineering, I don't expect you to read every single thing on this slide. It is a very busy slide, but I just wanted you to get a feel of all the areas that we handle in traffic and operations. They are categorized into traffic engineering and safety, traffic planning, administration, traffic operations, and traffic control device maintenance. And in these areas, we have a separate electrical department that takes care of traffic signals and all electrical devices out there in the field. We have a sign department that takes care of fabricating and installing signs. And then we have engineers working on the operations end of everything. When it comes to traffic control devices, Detroit is the home of autos, and this is a sign from 1914. Basically, as automobiles started gaining popularity in the turn of the last century, traffic control also became very critical. And this is an attempt to control traffic using a sign which says danger, automobile slow down to 4 miles an hour, toot horn. That's pretty interesting. But we have come a long way. Today, our traffic control devices are standard. They have standard shapes. They have standard colors. So we have uniform messages conveyed by our traffic control devices that include signs, signals, and payment markings. And all of these are controlled by what is known as the uniform traffic, the manual on uniform traffic control devices manual. So this kind of tells us how to analyze where to place traffic control devices, the criteria to be followed, the sizes, the colors, the height, where it should be put at. So we often call this the traffic engineer's Bible. It's probably a 4-inch thick book, and now of course everything is online, so you can find an online copy out there on the internet. So the MUTCD for short, is used all over the U.S., and that's the reason a stop sign is always white lettering on red, and it's an octagon. Wherever you go, whether Hawaii or Puerto Rico or Wisconsin or Michigan, The same thing with other indications such as green is always go and red is always stop. That's universal, uniform all over the country because of this one manual that all traffic engineers used. And as traffic engineers, we are trained and required to use this manual when installing any traffic control device for operating a safe transportation system. So if I just wanted to also show you what would happen if there's no traffic engineer on staff. You could have signs which say deer crossing, keep right with a left arrow, speed limit signs, slow down or die ultimatums. So again, I'd like to preface and kind of offer a disclaimer that these signs, none of these signs are from Macomb County, and we will not let it happen either. I just wanted to add from my collection this one sign which shows that hell does freeze over. The next topic I would like to talk about is traffic congestion, which is probably familiar to everybody who is listening or seeing this presentation. And if you were to look at the reasons for traffic congestion, this is kind of a pie chart which is developed from researching causes of traffic congestion all over the country. So 40% is recurring, which would mean roadway capacity. Brian just explained very well how deficient funding is. So we can't really build enough capacity or enough lanes on our roadways to handle all the traffic. So that causes congestion. So there's 25% of the congestion is caused by incidents, which are traffic accidents and other incidents that close off certain lanes on certain roadways. Weather is a factor, work zones, special events, like last year we had that big protest march and everything else. And then 5% is related to poor traffic signal timing. So these are all the reasons why traffic, and as traffic engineers, we are always in the pursuit of solving these traffic congestion concerns. Of course, building additional lanes is happening, but at a very slow pace, as Brian explained earlier. Incident management, managing incidents so that we can clear incidents in a faster manner, manage planned events like fireworks and other events, monitor signal performance, and all of these come under the category of using technology to better manage traffic. Basically, we realized that we cannot build out of congestion, so we started looking into technology to help us squeeze the last ounce of capacity from our roadways. And these technologies are broadly categorized under Intelligent Transportation Systems, or ITS, to better manage traffic. So the crown jewel and nerve center of all Intelligent Transportation Systems activities in Macomb County is CommTech, which is Communications and Technology Center. And here's how CommTech is laid out. We have a video wall, which is 50 feet by 20 feet, which has all kinds of video feeds. We have a traffic operations center in the front, where we have around 8 stations. We have operators looking at traffic conditions and making the right calls and to take care of concerns. We have the 911 dispatch center in the back. We have around 25 dispatch center stations there. And of course, in the top, you have emergency operations center. And within the facility is also IT, Macomb County IT department. So this co-location of 4 departments at CommTech offers various synergies that make our operation much efficient, providing tremendous benefits to the county services in various areas. For example, when a traffic crash is reported to 911, TOZ operators zoom our cameras into the incident area, such as a crash. With eyes on the incident, then the dispatchers can help with dispatching the right resources to help with the incident and also help clearing the incident faster. Our operators also send out incident notifications with details on lanes closed, etc., via email and via text to citizens who have subscribed to them. We also push these notification to social media outlets like Facebook and Twitter. We monitor these incidents, and when the incident is cleared, we send out notifications again so that the motoring public knows things are back to normal. So how do we do all this? We have traffic signals. We have around 735, out of which more than 90% of them communicate back to contact. We are designing more links so that we can have close to 100% communication rate for all our devices in field. We have around 330 traffic monitoring cameras. These are basically full pan, tilt, and zoom capabilities. So basically, if there is a crash or if there's an incident or if there is something happening on our roadways, we can zoom into these areas and see what's going on, and then make the right changes so that we can facilitate better traffic. And most of this being high definition and high resolution video streams, we do not really store any of the data. And so that's kind of how we operate these things. Other devices. So how does everything work to communications? As with anything, communications is key. And this is an illustration of our communication system. We have links from all over the county that come back to ComTech, and each of these hubs now have the devices around these hubs talk to these hubs, and then these hubs then talk to ComTech. So this is kind of how our communication system is set up. The future communication network is fiber optic technology, and we have projects going on right now to make that happen. When you talk about stakeholders, we work closely with a lot of stakeholders. MDOT is one of our primary stakeholders. We take care of all traffic signals within the county. That includes 235 of the MDOT locations too. We coordinate with state and local engineers on traffic signal timings. Further, we also talk to SEMTOC, which is, the state has a similar facility down in Detroit called SEMTOC, Southeast Michigan Traffic Operations Center, and they take care of all the freeways that run through the county. So we are in constant touch with them to make sure that the freeways are running okay, and if there is a blockage on the freeway sending traffic onto surface roads, then we take care of all the traffic on the surface roads. We have flush plans where we flush all the traffic out, for better traffic operations. Local municipalities, we do have we consider all our communities, cities, townships, and villages as stakeholders. We frequently communicate with them on a variety of things. For example, local law enforcement with city engineers for construction projects. We have a construction database, and we meet on a bi-weekly basis, try to find out how we can coordinate traffic control needs for all of these projects. When it comes to law enforcement, they are our close partners when it comes to traffic safety. We work with dispatch centers down here at ComTech, with Warren and with SERISA, which is the Southeast Regional Emergency Services Authority. And we have connections to local law enforcement also, leveraged through the Office of Emergency Management. We present to the Chief of Police's office, police and fire chiefs meetings. We have done this many times, so that we can see if there's things that we can help them with, and if they can help us with some of these things to facilitate better traffic management. So the next frontier for us is connected and automated vehicles. Basically, these are vehicles talking to the roadway, and vehicles talking to vehicles, vehicles talking to pedestrians, signals talking to pedestrians, all of these connections here. And research shows that when most vehicles are connected in the future, collisions or traffic safety is greatly enhanced, up to 80% reduction in traffic crashes. So there could be smarter and operational decisions by drivers within their cabs. They get information on, if there is a possibility that they would violate a red light, things like that. And signal priority is something that we've been working on too, which is basically, emergency vehicles. The system knows that the emergency vehicle is coming and tries to give them green so that they can proceed, have the shortest response times that they can have. So we've had many initiatives in Macomb County in the recent past. We have worked with General Motors, Sterling Heights Fire Department, and then we are working on a pilot for snowplows, which is ongoing right now. And we plan to outfit all intersections within the county, all the 735 intersections with connected vehicle technology by 2022. For the future, of course, we are always looking for the next big thing, and we are also trying to maximize what we can do with technology all the time. Big data is a big area. Connected vehicle, I kind of touched on it already. Connection to other modes of transportation like emergency services. These are all things that are on the horizon, which we are working through. I'd like to also let you know that we are considered as one of the most advanced traffic departments in the state today, and we get a lot of calls from around the country on how we do things here, so that they can replicate what we do here in different parts of the country. So with that, I'd like to conclude. Of course, we are here to assist you and your constituents. Of course, the key people at the administration office here at the Roads Department is Brian Santo, our Director of Roads. Vince Viviano is Chief of Staff. Eric Dimoff is our Communications and Public Relations Officer. And for any kind of road-related board request, please call or email Sue Van Steelant, our Office Manager, at 586-463-0344 or svan@rcmcweb.org. So with
Thank
that,
you. I appreciate that. Thank you, Commissioner and Chairman Farrington. We can field some general questions if you have a general question related to the.
Yep.
I know
Brian and John, I want to thank you for the presentation. Vice Chair Song has a question.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you, Brian and John, for that presentation. I'm very impressed with the innovative use of technology in regards to traffic and roads. This question is for Brian, and I was just wondering if the Department of Roads is doing anything to research or test the use of sustainable materials for roads. You mentioned potholes being an issue on gravel roads and having the cost to patch them up. So is there anything that's being done to maybe consider different types of material that might be better for or to prevent more potholes?
That's a good question, Commissioner. Yes, over time, there is a lot of research going on with independent companies and associations on best practices. Unfortunately, with winter conditions, we have a significant, an extremely large number of potholes. So the efficiency of being able to use cold patch is what we utilize, and that's the industry standard at this point, to get the most bang for the buck as far as coverage. Obviously, we have to address the potholes in a timely fashion. We could spend all day in a few 100-foot section and use rollers and this and that, but we'd only get a small amount of production with the need that we have throughout the entire county as far as making the roadway safe. So, there are industry standards currently that we use. There are new technologies that obviously they're researching, and when those come out and become an industry standard and are tested in the communities, we could potentially switch to those various products. But at this point, we're using what we have available, and that is industry standard for the job that we do as far as the roadways are concerned.
Thank you, Brian. And you mentioned, the most bang for your bucks, but do you think it would be beneficial to invest more upfront so that, later on you're not patching and spending more money to fix something?
Yes, but that involves funding. And once again, if we have the funding and adequate funding, we can cover a lot more roadway as far as repairs, more permanent repairs than just patching or Band-Aid type jobs.
right.
We utilize our funding the best we can, but the funding mechanism is the issue as far as getting enough funding to cover the area that we need.
Okay, I got it. And then another question is for the construction project on Mound Road from M59 to 18 Mile. Is that a part of the Innovate Mound project?
Yes, that is the Innovate Mound, and it goes from 696 to Hall Road. So yes, a 9-mile stretch.
Okay, I just wonder because on the roadmap for constructions, you guys have it just for M59 to 18 Mile, but this project is actually going from 696 up to 18 Mile. Is that correct?
It goes up to Hall Road. So it's basically 11-mile road or 696 to Hall Road, which is 20-mile road. So that would be a 9-mile stretch. So I have to look at the.
And that's a $60 million project that we're talking about, right?
$217 million plus, yes.
Plus the 60?
No, the total project, which is design, oversight, and construction, is 217 million plus.
I get that, but on the roadmap website, there's a section of that's from M59 to 18 Mile that you guys have listed there as widening the road and reconstruction for $60 million. So is that part of the Innovate Mound project too?
Yeah, the 18-mile road is that is
separate.
Yeah, no, that's in the air. It should be M59 down to 11-mile road. We do have a widening as part of the Innovate Mound project. We do have a widening going from 17-mile north to Hall Road, which is a 3-mile section. So instead of 3 lanes northbound and southbound, that will be widened to 4 lanes to match the existing cross section south of 17 all the way down to 696.
Okay, I think that section might be need to be updated on the website then for clarity.
Yes, we'll do so. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And then, John, my question for you is there ever any discussion or plan to use the traffic cameras for issuing tickets or assisting in court cases?
No, there's no legislation right now to use cameras for, use cameras for automated enforcement. So we cannot really do that at all.
Okay, great. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you. As a follow-up, Brian, on Vice Chair Song's question on the northern end of Mound, is that the corridor improvement legislation that's widening that? So it might be in addition to the Mound innovation.
No, as part of the Innovate Mound project, it was planned to widen from 17-mile to Hall Road.
Okay, because I know a few years back the state put something aside for a corridor improvement with the help of Sterling Heights. So I didn't know if that was it.
No, this is strictly through the Infra Grant and the Innovate Mound project that we submitted for this corridor.
Excellent. Commissioner Kleinfeld.
Thank you, Chair. Brian, you showed the difference between the actual cost of the maintenance of the township roads and what we get from the state. Where does the difference come from?
Basically, our general fund.
So that when I've made the statement in the past that we're subsidizing one end with basically everybody, so that's actually an accurate statement when I've made that statement.
Yes. So the way the breakout is for the townships, in any one particular year, some might get an advantage where we would spend more in the township, and sometimes we spend a little less. But as a whole, on average, year to year and annually, we spend more on the roads than we receive for the townships from Act 51.
And the maintenance that you showed shows us always spending more than we receive.
Yes. Yes.
So, and that's not your fault, it's the state's fault. And quite frankly, I think the state should cover the difference because this was all put in place when townships were rural farmland, and most of the townships are bigger than some of the cities now and have a very large tax base. And our general fund is covering that, which means the south end of the county, which is the cities, taxpayers are subsidizing that. Just a whole lot of that in almost every aspect of what we do. It's not your fault or your issue. I think it's the state's fault. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Commissioner Kleinfeld. And actually, I'll echo part of that. Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, but PA 51 money, the first 10% is actually carved off for trails, communities with heavy snowfall, and mass transit. Is that correct?
Yes, the whole pie of the Act 51 money gets split up independently. It doesn't all go towards the state, us, and cities and villages. There's stuff, like you explained, carved out of that before it gets split into that formula.
Yes. So Macomb County is a giver county over.
When it comes to other counties in the state, like the upper counties, yes, we're a donator county for the revenues with the registration and the gas tax. Yes, we're considered a donor county to the other counties within the state.
Thank you. Commissioner Wallace?
I am good. My question was already answered. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Commissioner Brown, Chair Brown?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Brian, and your team for coming down and giving us a good overview of your department and the many things that you're involved with. Regarding the funding, is this the year we get our final installment of the gas taxes that were raised several years ago? There was a delay in getting the taxes apportioned to our county. It was done over time. Are we receiving the full amount of Act 51 gas taxes that were raised several years ago?
I believe it's next year, potentially. Commissioner Farrington, I know you've heard that. Is it this year or next year? I'm unsure. But
yeah, actually, it sort of caps out next year. From that point forward, it's a inflationary increase only, which we never had in the 1997 legislation.
So the 1.2 billion would be.
I don't know it. I helped write the law. That's why Brian knew that. So the 1997, there was no inflationary increase. So from 22 on, it has the inflationary increase.
So how much additional money do we receive this year, Brian, compared to last year? How much additional money received from the state last year as opposed to this year? Well, vice versa, actually.
From that chart, 2020 revenues was just over 68 million. In anticipated funding for 2021, which obviously we're currently in, is estimated at 75. So, you're looking at approximately 7 million increase from 2020 to 2021 anticipated or estimated.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Commissioner Matusek.
As someone who represents a township, let me say that thank you to all the donor communities to us. I appreciate that. I will say we would certainly like a lot more say in our own roads and what happens to them. But, until we can fix Act 51 to make it more fair from the rural to the urban and cities and townships, we have to live with what we have. So my question is about decision making. We in this state for a long time basically ignored maintenance. We built roads, we didn't fund maintaining them. Now we're behind. Now we're looking at upgrading a whole lot of roads. How does the road department figure out the priorities in terms of maintaining existing roads, making substantial improvements like the Mound project? I mean, how does that decision making done? Because it's got to be really difficult because there's not enough money to do everything.
That's correct. And we've established here, in the last few years, a core program, which is a community outreach and education program that centralizes on us communicating, obviously, with all communities within the county. We've established that. That's ongoing. We do have a newer system that we're onboarding as far as asset management, which not only is going to initially deal with our roads and bridges, but it will eventually deal with our large culvert inventory or our ITS, traffic signal inventory. And there is a more of an analytical, more objective approach, obviously, to moving forward with our asset management program versus the more subjective. Now, obviously, we have a service center staff that monitors our roadways on a day in and day out basis. We have a lot of staffing here at our admin building that we communicate with, obviously, the townships, cities, and villages within their districts and in areas to come up with the most sensible and reasonable locations and areas, because a community might have a need, but in the bigger scheme of things, that need might be very minimal as far as the annual or average daily traffic. It might only have a few hundred vehicles. It might be a poor road, but you have another road that is a local or primary road that gets thousands of vehicles per day. That's more critical and more important to fix those types of roads, because you get a heck of a lot more traffic that travel them day in and day out. So that is an ongoing discussion and open communication internally, as well as with the communities at large. But we are looking at improving that and streamlining that with our onboarding of our asset management program that is, moving forward, I should say. Currently, been having a lot of meetings with a representative that we hired to assist us with that in HNTB, to onboard that, to make that more functional for our decision-making process.
That would be great. I know in Clinton Township, our roads department is evaluating every road and sort of scoring them as a means to try to figure out where we need to send our priorities. I think that that's really important. So thank you very much for the presentation. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome. And as a side note, some of the communities and townships do seek road millages, and I know Clinton Township was one of them that was seeking that. Unfortunately, got turned down. But that is a very successful program if you can get that to get passed, as far as an additional revenue and resource for those particular communities to utilize.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Nard.
Good afternoon. Hi, Brian.
Hi, good afternoon.
I just wanted to, I came on a little bit late, and I wanted to just do a few follow-up questions, which I'll speak with you about later, because I'm not for sure what you already went over. And most of it is going to be about the roads going from south of 696. I'm getting a lot of inquiries from the citizens regarding those roads, especially around the railroad tracks. So I don't know if you can kind of elaborate if there's any plans, especially there's another road that's specifically I've been asked about, was the 10-mile road between DeQuinder and Ryan.
Yes, and actually 10 Mile is on our project scope and for construction this season, that stretch that you just mentioned.
Okay.
As it pertains to railroads, I mean, the railroads obviously address their crossings. They have a certain railroad easement that they do all work within, for those rail lines. But in particular, 10 Mile is a active in construction project that we will be doing this year under a construction program.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have, and I'll get with you regarding the other questions, okay?
Sounds good. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. Thank
Excellent.
you,
Thank you, Commissioner Hall.
Thank you, Chairman. Brian, thank you for the presentation. It never ceases to amaze me how we get $7 million more than we got last year, yet I remember our county executive making the comment that allows you to pave about 3 miles in all of Macomb County. And as far as PA 51 goes, Jeff and I were up there when the debate took place on that and trying to get it changed. There was no willingness to do that at all. So if that's an option for a legislative priority, one of them that I've listed is try and lobby Lansing once again on getting more funds. But my question is, we're moving into pothole season, our favorite season for everybody. How do you, I thought we put a system in place that people could call in when they saw massive potholes and you guys respond to them, or the local municipality does. How do we intend on dealing with what could be one of our bigger pothole seasons this year?
Once again, as I explained, Commissioner Holland, thank you for the question. We do have a night watch, which is, obviously outside of our normal business hours. And if there's issues with potholes, as far as a safety nature, obviously they coordinate and communicate with our night watch. We do have our service centers also that are on during the winter and early spring to monitor the roadways, throughout the night and early morning. So they will be out on site, and night watch will call them if they get calls in, for servicing as far as a pothole being a severe size that needs attention immediately. And we've been pretty successful with that program as far as responding to those areas that are critical as far as a larger size and that could be potentially a safety issue with the motoring public.
Thank you. Just for the record, I think the average repair to a vehicle that hits a pothole is around $700. So
correct. It's substantial for sure.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner. Brian, real briefly, can you hit on what the inflationary increase has been on road building materials over the last 3 to 5 years, something like that? Because hasn't it gone up substantially compared to overall inflation?
I would say on average, probably anywhere from 6-7% or higher on an annual basis, as far as material supplies, labor, all that.
Right. Yeah, 2 to 3 times the rate of inflation. Good. Commissioner Van Sickle.
Thank you, Chair. To Commissioner's Hogg topic about reporting potholes, we just spent almost $1 million on a fancy scheduling system. Maybe we can, which was supposedly able to do other things. This is another thing. Maybe we can, granted, it won't be available for a couple months, but hey, it's a web-based system where people can go in and report things. Let's test them on what they told us, that it can be used for other things. But Brian, I've done some reading and been told some things that there are additives that can be put into cement during the mixing / construction process that will increase the cost of the whole construction process 5 or 10% or some number, not double or anything, but will greatly increase the durability of the roadway and prevent the roadway from developing these potholes and things, which I understand are mostly from water damage during freezing, all the cracks at the edges. Have we ever experimented with any of this additive in the cement, and what do you think about that?
Well, I'm not sure exactly what you're talking about as far as the additives that you're referring to. You know, there's various additives that are added to the concrete, water reducers, air entrainment additives. One of the big problems is having enough air in the concrete, because as you stated, with the freeze thaw, the moisture gets into the voids, and if there's not enough voids, all those cells that are open get filled with water, and then when we do the freeze thaw effect, it expands, then it breaks the concrete if there's not enough air entrainment, not enough air in the concrete itself. So that is a concern of ours. But as far as a magic fix, as far as an additive, no, there's not a really industry standard to an additive as far as the concrete mix is concerned that's going to be the magical savior of durability and lifespan of a concrete at this point. You know, there's other stuff that can be utilized to make it harden quicker, but really that tends to have an adverse effect on the curing process, which is not something we want to see. It quickens the setting time, but which speeds up traffic to get on it, but it's not real functional as far as lifespan and durability of the concrete.
Okay, and the other thing that I was curious about is I've read about, I think it's in some other countries, where the contract for the road actually includes monies being held in escrow for the contractor to maintain the road. Have we ever looked at anything like this? I mean, if the contractor had to maintain the road, they might put a little bit more care, TLC, into building the thing.
There are some of those projects, and that's mainly projects that you see at MDOT. I know they're experimenting with that. I think part of the 75 project that they have a design build program for, a project for, they're looking, I think, at a 20-year maintenance project, but at the local level, it's not to that point as of yet. You know, Innovate Mound will be a warranty project, which is kind of newer to the local projects also, as well as here within Macomb County. That will have a warranty as far as defects or deficiencies or damage to the concrete that happens prematurely. That will be the responsibility of the contractor to come back and fix those areas if they're out of standard compared to the warranty, manufacturer's warranty that they would provide through the Mountain Road project. That is a requirement through MDOT on some of our projects moving forward, but we're just getting into that. MDOT is looking at those options to see as far as viability.
Now, for standard warranty, when I buy a product that has a warranty, I pay 100% of my money, and then I'm at the mercy of the manufacturer to honor their warranty. For the road warranty, is any of that being held in escrow to ensure that the contractor meets their requirements for the warranty?
That is part of the project as a whole. we used to be able back in the day withhold monies from the contractor and then deal with issues. Now it's pretty much we pay the contract pricing and the units that they performed. And if there's an issue with that moving forward, we have to deal with that. Once a project was typically accepted in the past, now with the warranty, there is a mechanism to bring the contractor back and hold them accountable through bonding to ensure that they perform the necessary work that they have to as part of the warranty program.
Of course, somebody who's a little slippery might form a corporation, do the work, and then close the corporation. Then where are you?
Yeah, I'm sure there's potentially loopholes and ways around that, but obviously we have a good grounding of well-established companies within the county that we typically deal with that are going to be around for quite some time.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Yeah, and that goes to the bonding point too, Brian. Bonding is not an easy thing to get. So, Commissioner Zinner.
I'm just dying to ask you this question, Mr. Santo. I have lived driving on 16 Mile, well, before I could drive, 16 Mile all my life. And just west of Groesbeck, you have that railroad crossing. You may not be able to answer this question, but I just can't wait to ask you. There's those 2 lanes as you're heading west that every so many years, and this lasted a long time since the last fix, that always want to break. They always want to go down into the ground. I think there's 3 or 4 lanes there now. I'm just dying to know, why do those 2 lanes at the railroad track, they never stay fixed, and the whole rest of 16 Mile, there's no problem, always. I mean,
you're talking at the crossing itself?
Right.
Yeah, once again, we do make recommendations. I know MDOT has a agreement with the rail companies on an annual basis, and we do typically select a couple locations per year and submit them. Not that we always get those locations to be fixed, but we do submit annually, at least a couple locations to that program, so that, that is a rail crossing issue. And they have certain easements each side of their railroad that they maintain themselves. That's out of our jurisdiction. We can't even go in and touch those areas. They have to perform those duties with their contractors. So that would be a railroad issue as far as the crossing and the pavement directly adjacent each side.
Well, that's right on the road. I mean, it affects traffic, and you know how busy 16 Mile is. It's just, anyway, I was always curious about that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner.
It's interesting when a railroad crosses a road, it's the railroad that owns the property and has to maintain it. So I have one more question to add to it. So real briefly, Brian, can you go over the different maintenance techniques and what their life expectancy is? For instance, filling a pothole versus the inch of gravel versus digging a section out versus a total rebuild. So just real briefly, like how long should each one theoretically last?
I mean, as far as the simplest fix, potholes, I mean, that could be day to day or week to week, depending on the weather conditions. If it's damp and moist, you put pothole material in or coal patch in, and it could be out, the next day, depending on the weather conditions. Obviously, keeping up on that is very critical and crucial with our staff, which we obviously are very diligent at when it comes to the spring thaw season. Some of our mill and fill projects, which are our maintenance projects, a little bit more advanced in maintenance. We've done a lot of mill and fills to put kind of quote Band-Aids on roads that are very poor condition. Those could last anywhere from, probably 6 to 8 years, with a decent lifespan. But once again, that's kind of a more temporary fix. When it comes to a reconstruct, we want to say that it's 20, 25 years plus. Before we would have to get in there and do any type of rehabilitation or preventive maintenance. With that being said, with this new program that we're implementing as far as the asset management, we're looking at implementing more of the preventive maintenance fixes to keep more of our good and fair roads in those categories longer than dropping into the poor condition. And sometimes the old adage of worst first is not always the fix and the right way to go about looking at it. So we're looking at dumping a little bit more money into the preventive maintenance. So when we do a mill and fill or we do a reconstruct, going back into the near future and putting preventive maintenance onto what will keep those lifespans longer in the good and fair category versus it's a lot more expensive once a road drops into the poor condition to fix it or repair it. So we're trying to switch gears here a little bit here with assistance from, like I said, our asset management owner rep HNTB to get us a process that makes most sense moving forward that will prolong our lifespan of our good and fair roads more than dropping into the poor range. So.
Thank you. We do have a question from Chairman Brown.
Thank you. On that score, how does the gravel roads factor into that maintenance program? I have more miles of dirt roads in my rural community than I have paved roads, and the limestone program that you have has been outstanding. It's been a godsend, and it's been out there for almost 10 years now, and it's really helped a lot. Is that factored into the maintenance of your program in terms of asset management?
Yes, obviously we've established that, Commissioner Brown, to assist the townships, in particular in the north end. We've actually gotten to a point where we're kind of redoing some of the roads that we did early on in this program as far as a second go around with the limestone program, which is great. But as you can see from the one graphic, as far as the township contributions that we do, as far as maintenance, we're spending more in those communities than we receive MTF funds. So truly it goes back to the whole item and issue of more funding that's necessary to support all the communities, including the townships, for us to be able to utilize those funding resources to do what we need to do on a daily and annually basis. Yeah,
I appreciate that. There's a big communities out here in the north end that, all these gravel roads, because it's sparsely populated, and it's a semi-rural area out here. So it's, we appreciate all the support the Department of Roads gives us. In fact, the new commissioners and some of the new older ones as well. I mean, you got to realize this department steps up. If you got an issue with a road, you got a problem that you just can't answer yourself, simply a polite email to the road department, and they'll get the answer to you eventually, soon, promptly, actually. So keep that in the back of your mind. They're very good about responding to our needs. They may not always give you the answer you want or your constituent wants, but they're there to help assist you in answering questions from the public on road issues that you have in your district. And sometimes you're going to feel like especially in the spring, you're going to feel like you're a road commissioner. You're going to get so many calls about roads and issues that you're going to think you're a road commissioner. I say road commissioner because back in the day, there were 3 independent road commissioners in this county that ran the show, and we wisely moved them under the county's umbrella. So, but anyway, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Brian, again, for your whole team and the good job you do. You do a lot with a little. I mean, we don't have enough money to go around, but you've spread it around, I think, in an equitable fashion as best you can, and it's appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Brown.
Thank you, Chair Brown. To back up something Brian said, for 18 people go, why aren't Michigan's roads as good as Ohio? We're about the same size of a state. For 18 years, Ohio, prior to 2015, for 18 years, Ohio put another $1 billion per year into the roads than what Michigan did, plain and simple. If you don't have the money, you can't keep it up, and then it just gets worse. So I think we have one final question, Commissioner Van Sickle.
Yes, thank you, Chair. When we do the mound reconstruction project, one of the things that I've always wondered about on Metro Parkway, particularly noticeable eastbound on the west side of Van Dyke, is a lot of the manhole covers tend to be right where the traffic, where the tire goes, instead of like being in the middle of the driving lane. It always seemed to me that having all those tires run over that manhole gives a lot of pounding to the infrastructure below it. Are those manholes where they are because there's underground services that haven't been moved, and we had to do it there, or was there some design reason? Because the cement also seems, the roadway seems to break around those also when they're at the edge of the edge of the road plates or whatever you call them?
Yeah, it's probably a combination of both. Pre-existing underground infrastructure that we have to kind of match into with our projects, whether it be water main, sanitary. Typically with storm structure, if we do a reconstruct of a roadway, we'll redo the entire storm system. So we typically don't want to see those in the wheel path. You're right. It's not a good ride as far as the smoothness is concerned. And the smoother the pavement, the better the ride and the better the lifespan of the pavement in general. So a lot of that has to do with existing infrastructure that's there that we have to replace a structure or a top manhole cover to, whether it's a water gate, a sanitary structure, or otherwise. And a lot of that probably has to do with pre-existing underground system and infrastructure that we have to incorporate in the project. And it doesn't always fall, outside a lane line or a wheel path. So, but we do try and design away from that.
Will the underground infrastructure be redone on the 9 miles of Mound Road?
The cities of Warren and Sterling Heights are looking to replace and repair, rehabilitate some of their water main throughout that corridor. Consumers has some gas main relocation throughout the corridor in various areas. And Detroit Edison is relocating a bunch of poles, overhead poles, throughout that entire stretch also. So it's a bunch of infrastructure that is getting removed, relocated throughout that entire 9 mile corridor.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Brian, John, we do thank you very much for providing all the information, asking our litany of questions. I appreciate the questions from the commissioners. We did have a motion to receive and file. So, Mike, if you can put up the vote.
That motion passes 13-0.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you very much. Now, at this point, we are going to move on to item 7A, a contract with Sawyer Services. First, I'd like to see if there's a motion. For item 7A.
So,
Van Sickle made the motion. Do I have a second?
Support by Nard.
Support by Nard. Thank you very much. Brian, if you can discuss this.
Yes, 7A would be a contract with Sawyer Services Incorporated for the installation of a traffic signal at Van Dyke and North Central Park. That's a signal that was requested due to warrants through the township. And this is pretty much a pass-through contract and project where Shelby Township will be paying 100% of the cost of this particular location. So seeking approval of the contract to award to Sawyer Services.
Thank you very much. Seeing no questions at this time, the motion has been made to recommend to the full board. If we can have the vote.
That motion passes 13-0.
Thank you very much. Now we're on to item 7B. This is the contract with Florence Cement, 10 Mile Road to Quinder to Ryan intersection pavement surface rehabilitation. The county share, this is $1.2 million out of a $2.4 million total. Brian, I'd like a motion.
Commissioner Song, motion to move to full board.
Support. So Vice Chair Song gave the motion and Van Sickle supported. Brian, any comments?
Yes, this is a typical contract that we're seeking approval for Florence Cement, and it is for that 10-mile road from DeQuinder to Ryan mill and fill project. Yes, it is a split 50-50 cost share with us in the community moving forward. So our share would be half of and this is just construction costs. We already have a cost share agreement in place with splitting the cost for the preliminary engineering, construction engineering, and admin fees for that. So, but seeking approval for the contract award to Florence Cement for this particular project.
Thank you very much, Brian. Seeing no questions, there has been a motion to recommend it to the full board. Mike, if you can put up the vote.
So this is a cost sharing with Shelby Township and 10 Mile. Would you explain?
No, this is actually the construction contract with the city of Warren. So we're splitting the cost with the city of Warren for this project. And this is the actual award of the contract to perform the work with Florence Cement.
I'm sorry, I was looking at the next item. Thank you.
You're welcome. Sorry.
That motion passes 13-0.
Thank you very much. We're going to move on to item 7C. This is the cost share agreement, Shelby Township for the subdivision reconstruction. I'd like to have a motion.
Chair, I'd make a motion
Sabatini.
for C and D. They're both Shelby Township.
I'd like to take them separate.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you. 17 made the motion. Support?
Second.
Support, Nard.
Support by Nard. Brian, any comments?
Yes, this is a typical cost share agreement. This is falls under our annual sub reconstruction program where we offer the communities to reconstruct some of their subdivision roads at a 50-50. So the community will go out to one of their locations, roadways in a community. If they have pulled the residents along and adjacent to the roadway by a support of more than 50%, we proceed with matching money of $1.5 million. So it could be up to a $3 million program annually, which we do get a lot of interest from Clinton, Macomb, Shelby, and such as far as the communities are concerned. And this is a cost share with Shelby for the particular Belford Road from Bellman to Crawford, in seeking approval of the cost share agreement with that for that particular roadway.
Thank you very much. Vice Chair Song, did you have a question on this one? No? Okay. At this point, we have a motion recommended to the full board. Mike, if you can put up the vote.
That motion passes 13-0.
Thank you very much. We're on item 7D. As Commissioner Kleinfeld said, it's very similar. If we can have a motion to recommend to the full board.
Matusik moves.
Matusik moves it.
Nard support.
Supported by Nard. Brian, I'm just going to skip it to see if anyone has any questions. Seeing no questions of Brian at this time, Mike, I'd like to have the vote.
That motion passes 13-0.
Thank you very much. We're on to item 7E, cost share agreement, City of Warren, traffic signal backplate installation. Any comments, Brian, beyond what you said on the Shelby ones?
This is actually E.
Wait a minute. Yeah. Wait a minute. I do need a motion to recommend to the full board.
Motion to include E and F together.
Support for moving E and F together.
Matusik supports.
Matusik supports. Brian, if you can comment on the two of them.
Yes, this is through our traffic department. We get safety program funds, which pays for a majority of the project, as you can see by the breakout. The federal funding is 90% plus on both of these. So this is a project. One is the traffic signal backplate installation, which would be 7E, and 7F is the installation of box band signal installation. So once again, this is safety funds that we get and receive in excess of 90+% funded. So we split those costs with the City of Warren.
Seeing no questions from the board, we have a motion to combine E and F and recommend them to the full board. Mike, if you can put up the vote.
That motion passes 13-0.
Thank you very much, commissioners. We're going to move on to 7G, revised cost share agreement, Sterling Heights, the box band. And I believe this was from the previous month's meeting, Brian?
Yes, that is correct. And unfortunately, I wasn't on that one, but this was presented in front of you, probably by John Abraham. There was a revision and need to amend the previous one with the cost share. There was inherently a cost for the actual mast arms that was 100% attributed to the city of Sterling Heights, which was an error. That is a intersection that is solely under the jurisdiction of the Department of Roads, being Metro and Shaner. So that was adjusted. So that would show the 160,000 plus was split 50-50, which is the difference that you're seeing on this one compared to the other one. So that is the change and seeking approval.
Seeing no questions from the commissioners, Mike, if you can put up for a vote.
I'll make a motion, move it to full board, Mr. Chair.
No motion was made on that. My apologies.
I'll support, Mr. Chair.
All right, so you got the motion by Romano and the support by Hall. If I can have a vote, Mike. Thank you on that, Commissioner Romano. Couple more here. So this
That
is
motion passes 13-0. Sorry.
Thank you. Nope, my fault. Item 7H, budget amendment, Department of Roads fuel system upgrade. I'd like to have a motion recommended to the full board.
Motion by Hall.
Support by Romano.
Motion by Hall, support by Nard. Any comments, Brian?
You're talking 7H, correct?
7H. Yep, 7H.
Yeah. So this would be the fuel system upgrade amendment, budget amendment. Yes, and unfortunately, I would have had our fleet manager on. She recently, as of a few weeks ago, retired on us. I was sorry to see her go. But yes, she was in the process of dealing with a fuel system upgrade throughout the county, including the Department of Roads. As far as upgrades to the system, our system is pretty much antiquated. It's a manual system where we have to physically enter in for our own vehicles as well as the sheriff's and other vehicles throughout the county, manually enter information into the system in order to get fuel and to try and track fuel as far as auditing purposes and inventory. This system, upon looking at it, we were looking at doing more minor upgrades, but in the big scheme of things, looking forward in the future, it made sense to do pretty much a complete upgrade. And we looked at, sending out RFP for upgrades in the current system, which is through Fuelmaster. And then we had a second bid, which is Gasboy / Mercer. And I do have online Doug Lindenberg from Gasboy, in case there's any technical questions. Doug, you can introduce yourself.
Hey, good afternoon, commissioners. It's a pleasure to meet with y'all. And as Brian said, I am Gasboy's Midwest Commercial Manager and here as a resource to answer any questions you may have about this system.
So this particular request is a budget amendment. So we, as part of the submittal in the current budget, we allocated a certain dollar value that was insufficient to cover the more complete fuel system upgrade. So we're seeking a fuel system upgrade budget adjustment of $135 to our program. And that would be coming from our roads budget that basically is here at the Department of Roads.
Any questions from the commissioners?
I do have a question.
Commissioner Kleinfeld?
I thought I had my name on there. Sorry.
No, I didn't. Yeah.
Okay, so the budget amendment is it's 135,000, and the project you said the project is 188,000, but the next agenda item is 321,000. I kind of went through and tried to add some things up, and I didn't come to 188. I came to 167 something, which incidentally is actually the same number as written on the quote. But if you add the 167 to the cost of uplifting the fleets, it comes up to the correct amount. So could you just speak to those numbers and why they're different from each other?
Well, as far as the total 188, there's an actual cost to upgrading the physical nature of the location. So we have gas pumps at our service centers. We have gas pumps at our admin building. and the county has a gas pump at Dunham by the jail over there. So there's a cost associated with the physical nature of switching out some of the fuel pumps and upgrading those particular locations. And then there's a cost to upfit and upgrade the mechanisms that go within all the vehicles, that it's a wireless communication. So there's not a manual entry that has to take place. So when a vehicle pulls up to the pump will know what vehicle it is, how many miles, all that stuff, and that will be transferred instead of a manual. The manual gets into issues with inventory and misinformation as far as input. So the two costs as far as getting to the 188 is one, the physical nature of the upgrade of the physical locations, and the other portion of that is the upfitting of the vehicles that need to take place in coordination with that upgrade system. Commissioner, you're on mute.
You're muted,
Oh,
Commissioner.
I'm sorry. The next agenda item is the 300-some thousand, and I was looking where they had written in the 167. If you took the 167 and you added the vehicle uplifts, both sections of the vehicle uplifts that are on the bid sheets, it adds up to the right number for the next agenda item. But that's why I thought that the vehicle uplifts were separate, and that's where I was wondering where the 188 came from, because these add up to 167 from my, and it's even written in one of them, but I can't find it right now. Anyway, they add up to the right number in the end, but I wanted you to speak to the 188 versus what the next agenda item is. Is the rest of that not going to come to us? It's just a separate thing?
Well, this contract is for the entire amount with Gas Boy Mercer as far as the overall fuel system upgrade. We have been in contact with the executive office and through finance. There are portions of this that do fall under the guides of the Dunham Road site. Steve? You're on mute, Steve.
Steve Schmiegel?
Yeah. Unmute.
Still can't hear you, Steve.
Steve, we can't hear you.
I think we wore him out yesterday.
No, that's not going to work. I mean, maybe he can just explain it full board, the difference between the 188 and the 321. Because we can't hear you, Steve, so maybe you could.
He's raised the hand, but that doesn't really help us. We know you want to speak. Commissioner Kleinfeld, if I could, Commissioner Van Sickle has a question, but before we take a vote, we'll get your question answered.
Or he can tell us at full board. Either way, thank you.
That's okay for you then?
Yes, because we have another opportunity at full board.
Right. Commissioner Van Sickle?
Thank you, Chair. Brian, so when a county vehicle is outfitted with this upfit of the ECOS equipment, when the vehicle pulls up to the gas pump, the wireless will communicate with the gas pump and allow the pump to dispense gas?
Yes, that is correct. The current system is basically a manual input. You have a key fob, you got to put it into the system, you got to type a bunch of information in, and that gets transferred. And there's a lot of issues with end of the year inventory, reconciling of issues that people input the wrong mileage and such. So the adaptability also and connectivity of this program that we currently have within our finance precision software is not highly compatible. So this new program through Gas Boy and Mercer will make it easier, more functional for our staff to download this information directly into precision more accurately, and it'll definitely be a cost savings as far as our manpower is concerned, doing the inventory and overseeing this program. In addition to the annual costs moving forward are cheaper with this system versus the older system.
Oh yeah, collecting information, this is definitely going to be great. The question that I was interested in though is the only—
Excuse me for a moment, Commissioner. Mr. Lindenberg, if you can mute your computer, that'd be helpful. Thank you. Go ahead, continue.
Is the only security on this the fact that the ecosystem is in the vehicle, or is there still any kind of a an input from the driver.
Doug, can you I believe it's just all through the sensing of the unit that's on the vehicle with the actual pump itself?
Yes, great question, Commissioner, and thank you, Brian. No, this is a very secure system, and part of the value here is with your current system that's a bit antiquated in this manual system. Part of the issue is ensuring we're capturing every gallon, and every gallon of that fuel inventory is going into a Macomb County asset. So with the current system, once someone punches in, say, a PIN code to fill up a vehicle, they have unlimited access to that fuel. So if they wanted to fill up that vehicle and a gas can, there's not that chokehold around the fuel. So with the system that we're talking about today, when the vehicle pulls into the fuel site, this is called automatic vehicle identification. It's identified, and there is a device on that vehicle right by the fuel inlet, and it is authorized only for that asset. And when the nozzle goes in the inlet, that is when fuel is actually released from the tank to fill that asset. Now, if someone tries to remove the nozzle from that vehicle to fill up anything else from a security standpoint, once it's removed 2 inches from that inlet, the transaction stops. So not only are we gathering lots of information, and it's defensible, accurate, reliable information, because we're pulling information directly from the asset itself, from its diagnostic ports for Brian's team, for maintenance, for fuel reconciliation. We're also improving security, reducing fuel costs from misuse or misauthorization. So, Commissioner, I hope that answers your question, and I gave you a little bit of additional information at the same time.
Thank you. One of the things that I was wondering is, in the history of your company that this product has been being used, has it ever been hacked?
No, it hasn't. This is a proven technology, a superior system. We actually have it on 7 million vehicles deployed globally. So this is a very secure system. There's several within Michigan, several large counties that you might be aware of and organizations that are using this. This is being used at the Road Commission for Oakland County today, the Wayne County Airport Authority, and we just finished a very large project with a smart bus public transportation that's using this system as well.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
That's it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. I just want to note that Finance Director Schmigo did comment in the chat box for those that don't have access to it. The budget amendment for the county portion of the project will come to the board in a month or two when the medical examiner renovation project is completed. County funding for this project is coming from savings in the ME project. Commissioner Kleinfeld, will you still be looking for additional information tomorrow?
I'll give him a call tomorrow on what I'm seeing, but so the contract isn't 188, the contract's over 300, just for clarification, because that's what we're voting on the next agenda item. Thank you.
Seeing no additional items, Mike, if you can put this up for a vote to the full board.
Wallace votes yes.
Thank you, Commissioner Wallace. That motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. And the final item, 7I, contract with R.W. Mercer Company Fuel System Upgrade, $321,000. Brian, if you can count. Oh, sorry, I'd like to have a motion for this item on 7I.
Motion to approve.
Motion approved to the full board. Do I have support?
Support from Kraft.
So the motion is made by Hall, support by Kraft. Brian, if you'd like to comment additionally on this.
Yes, thank you, Commissioners. Yes, this is the actual contract with Detroit Mercer, or R.W. Mercer in Gasboy, to upgrade and upfit our vehicles and our sites within the county. The Department of Roads oversees all of the fuel distribution with all departments within the county, ourselves included with the sheriffs and other entities throughout the county. So this is actually a project that will upgrade the fuel system, not only for our services, but for the county's services also. So yes, there is an upfitting fee for county vehicles as well as the road department. And there is a site over at Dunham Road that is obviously under the guidance and control, a county asset facility. So this 321 will upgrade the entire system as needed, in seeking approval of that contract.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Matusek.
This is not specifically about this contract. I would just like to point out and offer my congratulations to the Roads Department for bidding out all of these contracts, as opposed to our last meeting where it seemed nothing was bid out. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay, seeing no other questions, we did have a motion to recommend this to the full board. Mike, if you can put it up for a vote.
And Steve, I'll call you tomorrow.
And I will not separate these from the other ones tomorrow, just so we make sure it's handled. Or I will separate them, I should say.
That motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. Moving on to resolution.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brian. I appreciate
Take
it.
care, Commissioner. Have a good night.
Moving on to resolutions, item 8A, it's a resolution 2021-6158, resolution approving a Brownfield Plan for the County of Macomb. I need a motion to recommend to the full board.
Moved by Kleinfeld.
Moved by Van Sickle, support by Kleinfeld. Thank you very much. And I believe we have Amanda Minuato here. Is that correct?
Yeah, pretty close. Thank you, Commissioner Farrington, and good afternoon, Commissioners. So my name is Amanda Minato, and I'm the Program Director of Community Planning in the Department of Planning and Economic Development. So today we're asking for a resolution to approve a brownfield plan for a property located on 23 Mile Road between Van Dyke and Mound in Shelby Township. So on the call with us today is Kurt Brower from Warner Norcross and Judd, and John Sweeney from North Point Development. So they're going to be providing you with a little more information on the project and the brownfield plan specifically. But our department has been working closely with North Point and Shelby Township for the last several months. And the brownfield plan was presented to Shelby Township Board last night, and they passed a resolution supporting the approval of the plan. And then additionally, we held a Macomb County Brownfield Redevelopment Authority meeting this morning where the plan was presented to them. And they also made a motion to unanimously support the project. So with that, I will hand it off to Kurt and John to provide you with some additional information and then answer any questions that you guys may have. And I do believe they had a short presentation that I sent to Mike. I'm not sure if we're able to pull that up or not.
So thank you, Amanda. Kurt Brower, Warner Norcross, and Judd. Let me introduce the members of the team that are on the call as well. My colleague Sarah Harper, and from North Point Development, we've got David Rickard, Johnny Sweeney, and Mark Gloyeski. Also joining us today is Adam Patton from PM Environmental. So we had the whole team here to answer any questions that you may have. Quickly, Chair Farrington, thank you for the time today. I appreciate that, and having the committee entertain this resolution. I would like to thank Vicki Rowinski and Jeff and Amanda from the Economic Development team. Have done a great job of shepherding this through. I would be remiss if I did not also thank Shelby Township and in particular Julie Misich for helping out as well. With that, we appreciate the opportunity to present to you today. Johnny Sweeney from North Point is going to do a short presentation on the project itself. We'll talk about the brownfield plan and the reuse of this property that is currently owned by Ford Land Development Company. Put that back into productive reuse, manage some of the environmental challenges on site, and create hopefully a whole bunch of jobs. So with that, Johnny, I will hand it off to you.
Great, thank you, Kurt. And Amanda, just real quickly, the presentation, would it be helpful if I shared my screen, or should we just kind of roll through an overview without it?
I would like you to share the screen, but please keep the presentation brief.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like 5 slides, I think. So.
Commissioners, this is Michael. Just while they're pulling up the presentation, no, it is in your packet and uploaded earlier today when it was sent over.
And just to confirm, can you see this?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, commissioners, members of the committee, for joining us this afternoon and for having us. This is a project we're very excited about, and we'll get into why that is. But at a high level, it's a site that's had a number of challenges over the years, and we think we've got an outstanding plan to bring it out or into productive reuse, as Kurt mentioned. Just as part of our short presentation here, we wanted to share a little bit about North Point Development. So again, my name is Johnny Sweeney, and I'm based in our Kansas City office. We have offices throughout the Midwest, including a team member in Detroit, and we're a very active industrial developer. 2 things that I just wanted to call your attention to on this slide are at the bottom, you can see examples of tenants that we work with across the country. We would anticipate several Class A tenants looking at this park when it comes into reuse. We would think would be very similar groups as you see here. And then the other thing that I wanted to mention is that we're a long-term holder of our assets. And so we would lease these to these tenants, and we anticipate being a part of your community for years to come. And so from the beginning, as Kurt and Amanda mentioned, there's been a ton of coordination between the county, the township, the Detroit Regional Partnership, and others. And we found it to be very welcoming there. And just as an aside, your county staff has been very professional to work with, which we appreciate. So jumping to the site real quickly here, you can see just west of 53 and south of 23 Mile Road, next to the Amazon building, is where this is located. And won't go through all these bullets, spare you the boring pieces, but the long story short is this is an old test track, and as Kurt mentioned, owned by Ford. And there have been attempts and looks at redeveloping it, specifically looking at residential. And there's been some zoning changes as part of the history. Unfortunately, there is some environmental contamination that we have dug into with our team. And we found a way to address that with our plan here. And I think the important thing to call out on this slide is you can see at the bottom, there's a restrictive covenant that we will be recording at closing with Ford. And essentially, the use that we're proposing is compatible with the issues that exist on site. And so it's a good fit, not only with the challenging history, but also with what can be done moving forward. And then just the last slide here, I know you guys have had a long meeting. Wanted to go through a couple things here. The site plan, we're anticipating 3 buildings. This has been closely coordinated with the township staff to meet all the zoning requirements that we're working with them on. And then one of the exciting things that you can see to the right-hand side over there is we're projecting between 670 and 1,000 jobs to be generated by this development. And what that translates to is over $25 million in annual wages and benefits. And these are jobs that they don't go to people who live 2 hours away. They really go to people that live within a 20 to 25 minute radius. And so this is a huge impact for the local community, and at the same time, bringing a site that's had some environmental challenges into productive reuse. And so the piece specifically that we're here in front of you today for is the Brownfield Development Plan. And you can see a short summary of those activities in the bottom right here. And with that, we're happy to answer any questions and really appreciate your consideration.
Thank you very much. I don't see any questions from
I
commissioners.
have one. I am sorry, my orange bar went away. So I can't
Commissioner
get the
Tyson.
details button. I can't do anything. So I'm on my phone right now with the, I want to make sure we get the motions right, because the recommended motion on our sheet is to adopt, but the public hearing is tomorrow. So I want to make sure, first of all, do we need a motion to schedule the public hearing? Number one. And the actual motion should be to move it to full board, and it should be behind the public hearing. If I'm wrong on that, sorry for wasting your time.
Thank you very much for that. Crystal, if you can weigh in.
Yes, we scheduled the public hearing earlier in the month. Notice had to be given at least 10 days in advance. So that was noticed earlier this month. And this will be voted on after the public hearing at full board tomorrow. Does that answer your question?
Okay, so yeah, because the motion wasn't stated, which we haven't been doing a good job of lately, and the recommended motion was to adopt today. So just for clarification, the motion is to move it to tomorrow. Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes, Commissioner Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Amanda, how long has this process taken from start to finish to bring it to, when did this process start and so when it's soon to be completed?
I believe, and Kurt, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that it's been about, working with our team, it's been about 6 months. So Kurt originally reached out to Camille Silda from our office and Vicki Rowinski, and they've been working with them and Shelby Township. There was some rezoning that had to take place. A PUD amendment was passed by Shelby Township, and then obviously they've been working on this Brownfield plan over that time too. Once the rezoning was passed and the PUD was passed, we did a quick turnaround with the Brownfield plan. Obviously, we didn't want to come before you with the Brownfield plan before a rezoning was approved by Shelby Township. So this process has moved rather quickly, but over the past 6 months, the developer has been working very closely with the community and Shelby Township. And it may be longer than that, but that's about as long as I've been on board. Though I was also on maternity leave, so I could be missing a few months as well. So.
Kurt, what's your experience been with this process? You've done other developments, so you've been involved with other things, other projects of this nature. How does this compare to other things you've been involved with? This
Sure.
process, I should say.
Yeah, Chair Brown, it's good to see you again. So what I would say, a couple of things in terms of the overall process. I mean, I think it's gone very smoothly. County staff and the township staff have worked very well together to move this forward. And I think, Amanda, it may have been more like 8 or 10 months that we've been talking about this. So really, I think from start to finish, this has been going really kind of a long schedule and as kind of expected and hoped.
It's getting near the final chapter of a success story of a, once great institution was on that site, torn down, and now it's being redeveloped for the next generation of positive things. And so congratulations to you and the team, and to our staff, Amanda, and all of your team to help expedite this project, because it's very important to the community and to the county overall. And we're glad to have you, and thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Matusek.
I need to have a better understanding of this process. I'm sorry, new here. Does the county have an overall brownfield development plan, or do we do them as developers come to us?
We do them as developers come to us. We have a seated Brownfield Redevelopment Authority that basically is established to review these plans as they come in. So we kind of meet on an as-needed basis.
All right, so we have an authority that looks them over. We obviously work with the developer and the township, and then they come back to us. Obviously, I'm assuming the township held a public hearing to gather input before they approved it. Then it comes to us at the county. We hold a public hearing and then decide whether to approve it or not. I'm just trying to get the process in my head here.
Yes, that's correct.
That's correct. Okay. Fabulous. I actually worked for 17 years in a building built on the very first brownfield development in the city of Detroit. I am all in favor of such things. So thank you very much. I'm just trying to understand the process and the steps involved here. Thank you.
Good question, Commissioner. I do appreciate it. Seeing no other questions, Mike, if you can put up the vote for the motion to recommend it to the full board's presentation.
That motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much, Commissioners. We have a second resolution, 8B, Resolution 2021-5957, pledging the full faith and credit for the Macomb Interceptor Drainage District. Oh my gosh, that's a tough one. If I could have a motion to recommend this.
Motion by Romano to move to full board.
Support.
The motion is by Romano, support by Kleinfeld and Brian Baker. I believe if you can speak on this, we'd appreciate it.
Yep.
Welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good to be here. As you may know, Public Works is busy inspecting and fixing our underground sewer infrastructure, of course, after the 2016 sinkhole. We've got many projects going on, and Okanitz will be before you next month for a full presentation. We're currently lining the sewer interceptor under 15 Mile, and that's west of the 16 sinkhole. And that goes all the way to the ITC or the Edison corridor. We call this segment 5, when that started last fall. We found that lining is the long-term best approach, not only for cost, but also extending the life of the assets and making sure we don't have any more sinkholes, because as you know, sinkholes can affect the flow of over 600,000 people in the county, and certainly environmental disaster. So this new project, which is what we call segment 6, and that's east of the sinkhole, it's under 15 Mile east and west of Garfield and a portion north of Garfield. This project is upwards of $30 million to rehab this portion, and we don't have the money for it, so we have to borrow the money to fund it. The bonds are first backed by the Macomb Interceptor Drainage District, the 11 communities. The mid-board, which Commissioner Van Sickle sits on, has already approved the bonding resolution. But to qualify for these bonds, it requires the county to pledge and back the bonds as a secondary source. So the first source is the mid, second is the county. And the county has always pledged its full faith and credit in order to provide the lowest interest rate on the bonds. There has never been a default in the history of the county for these types of bonds. But a resolution is before you that needs to be considered. So again, it also gives the county treasurer the authority to collect. So there's more protections as well. So the project is ready to start later this summer and can be done by early 2023. So thank you for your consideration of the resolution you have before you.
Thank you very much, Brian. I don't see any speakers. So Mike, if you can put up for a vote the resolution 2021-5957, motion recommended full board.
That motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioners. We're going to move on to item 9, correspondence. Department of Roads project information sheet. This is basically a motion to receive and file. I'd like to take both A and B together.
Motion by Sabatini.
Motion by Sabatini, support.
Haw.
Support by Haw. Do you have any questions on it? I can bring somebody up if so. Excellent. Mike, if you can bring it up for a vote.
That motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much, Commissioners. At this point, we're on to item number 10 on the agenda, new business.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Yes, yesterday there was an inquiry about as we're approaching the possible return to live meetings with all of us in the same room. I had a conversation this morning with the executive asking him whether he'd be willing to declare a state of emergency, if you will, to help us, allow us to accommodate accommodate people that cannot attend meetings to attend remotely. He wasn't sure of that yet, but he is exploring other ways that they might be able to make accommodations to allow us to do that after consulting with legal counsel. So we don't have a definitive answer yet, but they're looking into that question to see if there's ways and latitude that could help us accomplish our goal. So we'll stand by for that. On a related subject, Patty has sent out a memo to all of you outlining the plans for in-person meetings again. And if Mr. Chairman, if you would allow Patty to speak to the board on
yes, please, that'd be appreciated.
Subject, I'd appreciate it.
Yes, that'd be appreciated. Patty?
Sure.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
As noted in the email that I sent out, we have been working for a long time to be flexible enough to accommodate whatever comes our way. So we do have the ability to accommodate virtual attendance should any of the commissioners need to attend virtually for the limited reasons that are allowable, or for the public to attend virtually, or for presenters or department heads to attend virtually. We cannot turn any public away according to the Open Meetings Act. And so we do have a couple of overflow rooms identified, and we have devices available to allow for the public to interact with the board during the appropriate public participation segments if that is needed and they are not able to go into the boardroom due to capacity. So I think we've addressed basically every situation amongst ourselves, and we've run through the different scenarios and are just ready to approach it in the most expedient way possible as soon as we hear.
Thank you,
very
Patty.
much, Patty. Chair Brown, did you have anything else you want to add to that point?
No, that's fine. We're standing by, and as soon as we get further clarification, I'll be sharing with all of you. So,
okay, I appreciate it. Commissioners, any other items for new business?
We do have a list of speakers, Chair Farrington.
Why do I not see that under new business?
Chair, if you hit
I got it. Commissioner Kraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to remind commissioners that tomorrow we have some important appointments coming up, obviously for community mental health. I would urge you all to reach out to those candidates if you have questions. I know they're more than willing to answer them. And we are actually, it's a tough position to be in, but it's also a good position to be in because more often than not, we barely have enough folks that apply to fill the slots. And now we have some incredibly qualified folks, and a lot of them, to fill the slots that we have. So just wanted to remind everybody that that's tomorrow. And if you feel more comfortable reaching out to me, if you have specific questions about anything CMH related, you're more than welcome to do that. I'm at your disposal. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Kraft. Commissioner Kleinfeld?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Chair Brown, for getting back with us on that. Earlier this week, they did the 83 podcast, and they discussed that issue and recommended the counties highly consider doing the emergency to give them that option, particularly because we don't know if the governor is going to make things more restrictive if there's an uptick, and there could be a conflict between what the legislature says we can do and what the governor's, what the health department says we can do, and we can't fix that conflict. So that's just But ultimately, that's not our decision. So, and I just want you to know, Harold, I am wearing a green shirt. My uncles, Pat, Jack, and Mick O'Brien would not let me forget that I am Irish. And on my dad's side, Montana Magazine did an article called "We Are the Women Irish," and it was about my grandmother, and her family. So anyway, I am wearing green. Thank you. Happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
Seeing no other speakers, and I do apologize to my grandmother for not wearing green today. That concludes the new business item. We're on to agenda item number 11. This is the second public participation component. Public participation, this is the opportunity for those who wish to speak for a maximum of 5 minutes on an item that is not on today's agenda. Those that wish to, the way this is worded, for those planning to speak during public participation, please be advised, according to Rule 21 of the adopted board rules, personal attacks, coarse and derogatory language, and cursing will not be tolerated. Individuals using such language will be removed from the meeting. Also, those who call in by phone or public participation will be asked to speak first in an orderly fashion. Those who join virtually will be asked to type their name in to the Google chat box. Those names will then be called in the order of which they are received. Staff, do we have anyone on the phone lines?
Chair, no one has indicated that they would like to speak, and we do not have anyone in the chat box either.
Okay, I'll give it just one more moment for anyone that would like to be included in public participation, either via phone or putting their name into the chat box. Seeing nobody wanting to participate in public participation, that is closed. We're going to move on to item number 12, adjournment. Do we have a motion?
Motion to adjourn, Romano.
Motion by Romano, support. We want to stay here. Anyone want to support?
Dinner.
Happy Sunday.
And support by Zinner. We have concluded this meeting. Thank you.
That motion passes unanimously.
Happy St. Patty's Day, everybody. Love you.
Thanks, everybody.
Stay safe.
Take care.
Stay safe.